Hi, this is Hans from Records for Music, and today I'll be looking at the RFM module of the FSyn bundle. So first of all, let's take the RFM in there. What is it? The RFM stands for Resonance Filter Module, which was on the original format back in the days. And a resonant filter is sort of a parametric equalizer, or a couple of those anyway, with which you can sort of emphasize some of the frequencies that are within a sound to add to that signal. So the resonance filter has an input, of course, that I need to hook anything up to that input to take the sound of an oscillator, for instance. And then I have a level knob here that I can set, of course, and where there's an input, there will be an output as well. So the output will be connected up to whatever I go to next. And then I've got a couple of sections there, three of those equalizers. And the black knob is the one for the cutoff frequency, so that's F0. So that means that's the center of the frequency band that you can set, and the width of that band is set by the resonance or the Q factor. So that's the middle knob here. And then on the side there's an amplification, or the level, the gain set that you can do. So that means that you can only amplify some of those frequencies or those three frequencies in the signal, and you cannot take those frequencies off, so to speak. You cannot diminish the level or something. So, well, let's take out a VCO indeed, and I'll put the VCO through this RFM, and then I go into VCA, an amplifier, of course, that I need to connect this up, because the amplifier, I can connect that one to an ADSR, so I can switch it off if I don't need that, so to speak. So normally what I would need at least is take the output of my VCO into my input of my RFM, then take the output of this and go into the VCA, and if I hook this up to this, I at least have one signal, which of course is the standard frequency of the VCO that comes out. And as said, I don't want to hear this all of the time, so I switched this off because now it needs an envelope to drive that VCA. So I'll take the output of my ADSR out, I take my gate signal from the sources to put into the ADSR, and I use my external input of my VCO to hook up to the pitch. So now I have at least a signal that I drive on my keyboard. Okay, so that's basically it. Then I'll see if I can find my multi oscilloscope. Let's see, where is it? Or mine. It's Weevil's, but it's sort of a basic tool that I use to just look at what happens. So if I take this out of the resonance filter and scale this up and scale this up so we can see what we're working with, I've got this sine wave at the moment, and well, the first one, they're all set to a certain frequency. They're set at about 330 hertz or something, and this one's 200. I may have already been doing something to this, but so I need to switch the RFM on to begin with, because now it's in bypass mode. So I need to switch it on, and you see that it's actually now waiting for all of the stuff to amplify. You see the signal is going down. So I can now just amplify some frequency in there. But of course, a sine wave doesn't have anything else to amplify. So I'll take another set of sound, or another sound wave that I can work with. First of all, just let's have a look. It is indeed a normal triangle, and let's take this out to begin with. So I'll switch it on, and yes, it is softer indeed. So I need to probably take this signal on, and I'll yeah, well, it's not too important. I'll just drive this a bit more. So now I've got a triangle wave, and a triangle wave exists of more harmonics than a sine wave. Sine wave only has the fundamental, the basic frequency, and the fundamental. Yeah, sure I can amplify that, but now when I work with this, I can actually amplify some other frequencies which are in there, and that means that if I now go through the cutoff frequency by using that, you see that it's amplifying some frequencies that were not in there, and the amount of Q factor means that it's sort of narrowing the band that it's working on. So I get extra frequencies in there that I amplify while outputting it. So let's first hear. This was the actual triangle wave, and sure it is amplified a bit too much, so it's distorting at the moment. So I'll switch this on, and I get extra frequencies in there. And as I said, I have 3 of those, so that means that if I amplify some other part of this with again some sort of a narrow band, I can work with that area and do some. And of course, the more harmonics I have in my original signal, so let's say that I have a sawtooth, the more influence the resonance filter has. So if I have this and I drive the cutoff frequency differently, as you can see, it will change that frequencies that I'm running through. So let's take the third one in. I can really change stuff to very different waveforms than I started off with. And the thing is, you use this to create more original analog instrument kind of thing, because if you would try to create stuff like a violin, for instance, or a flute, or a hobo, or that kind of instruments, and I actually recreated some of the instruments that were with the original, or that I found a tape of, or that I had a tape of for the original Formant synthesizer, where they took stuff like a clarinet and some kind of flute and all that kind of stuff, and then indeed, if you use that, you use the RFM filter to change those frequencies. So let's see if I can take this multi-oscilloscope in again, and I'll actually, this is one of the many patches that I have. I think there are about 260, 270. I don't know again how many, but there's this FSYN map folder that you can reach. If you go to the information about the FSYN folder, you'll find a Dropbox address there where you can download all of these folders. So there's a folder for bass, all kinds of bass sounds, brass sounds, a couple of those, some effects in there, experimental sounds that I'm working on, and some famous sounds like Keith Emerson sort of sound, and Vangelis-like sound, and Tomita whistles and voices and that kind of stuff, and some Wendy Carlos sounds that I recreated with the Formant. The Formant originals, as I said, some sort of general things that I couldn't really fit into any of the other things that I had here, and some special ones, some leads, some for my MIDI split module, because I use that with a key step from Arturia, where you have a couple of MIDI channels that you can send together. So I'm splitting that out through that module. A couple of organ sounds, pads, some patches that show the use of the pause module or the perk module, the percussion module, some normal patches to create percussion sounds, or that created percussion sounds, not using the perk. Some poly settings where I, because I have a poly module that takes poly and then goes to 8 mono signals. So that means that if I switch to any of those, let's see what I have here, for instance. So this is a really large setup. So if I change the size, you'll see that I have actually, 8 sets of oscillators, filters, and amplifiers that I can use. So indeed, in that case, I have and the sound is a bit soft, as I can hear, but let's see. So now I'm actually playing. I'm playing polyphonic using my my format. So I'll just take one else. And as said, it's a bit too soft at the moment. I'll need to, or it's coming in rather soft at within VBS or OBS, sorry. So I'll need to strengthen the volumes in there. But you see that it at least does that because I'm using those P mono module, and I use a mixer to put every of those oscillators in their place. So apart from that, sequencer combinations with some lead sound, so you can play over some stuff. So if I have something like this, something like that. So there's a lot in there, and as said, the sequences that I have, a couple of rather well-known ones, Baba O'Reilly and Chase, which is Giorgio Moroder's, and obviously I can't let you listen to those now because otherwise my video would come into problems. But there's patches for those, so you can listen to those. A split one that you can use, strings. One that's using the sync, or a couple of ones that are using the sync mode of the oscillators that I've just put in, and a couple of templates. And the templates are some basic ones, and a couple of basic sounds that I try to recreate, for instance, from the ARP 2600. So obviously it's not really a 2600, but in the 2600 there is a setting for 3 oscillators with filter, and I use a resonance filter to change some of the sound in there to make it behave slightly more like an ARP in the sound. So I've got that for an ARP, I've got that for a CS80, not in polyphonic, but just for mono sounds. So there's a couple in there for that mini Moog sort of basic setting, and I use, for instance, the mini Moog settings with all the patches that use the MM in front of it to create sort of clones of patches that I had for a mini Moog. So that kind of stuff. But anyway, getting back to the RFM module, and I'll take such an original sound here. So I take something like hobo, for instance, and if you look, it's a combination of a couple of things, because what I wanted was an oscillator that's driving in the VCF, so I have sort of a basic sound, and then it's taking a square wave, because the square wave is sort of a hollowish sound that you need for a hobo. So I take that, I'm going into the filter, into the standard filter, where I do sort of basic setting, and then go on to the RFM to change, to add some stuff in there. And then I have some other stuff in here to begin with, because I've got a glide, and I use the glide to change sort of the portamento settings for the VCO. And I've got a mixer, because I have an LFO which is connected to the mixer together with a modulation wheel, so I can use the mod wheel to add the LFO to the frequency modulation of the oscillator. Then I've got the RFM, so the VCF is going into the RFM, that is going into the reverb. I need only one channel to drive in the reverb, because it's splitting it out over stereo altogether, and then I'm going into the mixer, and the mixer goes out to the main outs. So I need more levels so I can see, so I'll drive it a bit more. Let's see if I can get more out of this at the moment. I didn't really look at that. And this indeed is, and I'll probably have to switch this back. So this is sort of the basic setting for this sound, and if I now want to change that, I can indeed use this RFM to sort of drive certain frequencies in this sound a bit more. So yeah, it's a small effect, but think of stuff like violins where they have a body that adds to the resolution, or sorry, it adds to the frequency spectrum of your sound output. That's what you use the RFM for. So actually you could use it for all kinds of stuff in there, but I think I have a violin in here, but it's not really, I'm not really happy with that yet, so that will change. But there's some sounds in there that would sound better, and most of the time what you need to do, of course, is just go into the Google, find find harmonics and that kind of stuff, or bass harmonics for instruments like like a violin, like a guitar, or whatever. That you find some of the frequencies in, because the frequency on the RFM can be set from, what is it, from 50 hertz up to 5000 hertz. And most of the time those initial frequencies for a body, for instance, lie within that range. So if you drive that specific frequency and then up the Q and up the gain, it will definitely give some more realism to that sound. So yeah, actually that's what it is. So I hope you enjoy the package, and I'll be back with another videos later. So cheers, bye bye.